Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. In this collection of two sincere and captivating accounts, a mother and her daughter, and then a wife and her husband, find themselves grappling with the mind-bending possibilities of parallel universes and altered realities, as seemingly insignificant changes in their surroundings lead them to question the very nature of their existence. Wedding Day Warp. On Thursday, February 15th, 2024, Daphne May and her teenage daughter Alex would face a perplexing shift in their reality. Daphne and Alex had been eagerly anticipating the wedding of Daphne's co-worker and friend, Olivia. The invitation, prominently displayed on their refrigerator, had been a constant reminder of the occasion to come. As the date approached, Daphne and Olivia engaged in daily conversations about the upcoming nuptials, their excitement growing with each passing day. On the morning of the wedding, Daphne noticed Olivia absent from their company Zoom meetings, assuming she was busy preparing for her big day. As the clock ticked closer to the ceremony, Daphne and Alex gathered their belongings and reached for the invitation, ready to make their way to the venue. However, fate had other plans. Upon inputting the address into her Apple Maps, Daphne was met with a frustrating discovery. A massive traffic blockage stood between them and their destination. Determined to celebrate her friend's special day, Daphne remained optimistic, believing they would still be able to arrive somewhat on time. As they prepared to leave, Daphne's office messenger pinged, drawing her attention to her phone. To her utter disbelief, the message was from none other than the bride herself, Olivia. In the message, Olivia casually mentioned finishing up at a job site, working through lunch, and calling it a day. She promised to catch up with Daphne in the morning, leaving Daphne utterly perplexed. Reaching for the card invitation on the table, Daphne and Alex were stunned to find that the date had mysteriously changed. The wedding, originally scheduled for that very Thursday, was now set for a more traditional weekend date. Daphne's mind raced, recalling the numerous conversations she had shared with Olivia about the significance of the chosen date and the challenges Olivia had faced with her stepmother's objections. In a state of shock, Daphne and Alex tried to make sense of the situation. They distinctly remembered reading the original date aloud from the invite card, entering it into their calendars, and discussing the venue's address. In fact, Daphne had seen it listed in the shared office calendar that very morning. The wedding had been an absolute certainty, set for 3 p.m. that day, until Olivia's perplexing message turned their reality upside down. The following day, Friday, February the 16th, Daphne anxiously approached Olivia at work. To her astonishment, Olivia seemed confused by Daphne's inquiries. The heartfelt conversations they had shared about the significance of the February 15th date, the shared wedding anniversaries in both Olivia and her fiancé's families, and the stubborn determination to proceed with the Thursday wedding despite her stepmother's objections, all of it had seemingly vanished from Olivia's memory. As Daphne pressed further, Olivia grew quiet, as if struggling to recall the details Daphne mentioned. Although Olivia confirmed that there were indeed matching wedding anniversaries for February the 15th in her and her fiancé's family, and that they had even considered the date for their own wedding, she never recalled discussing it or even mentioning it to Daphne. Eventually she brushed it off, suggesting that she must have brought it up to her at some point. However, her enthusiastic desire to align her wedding ceremony with that significant date in her and her fiancé's family now seemed starkly absent. From Olivia's perspective, Her wedding had always been planned for the upcoming weekend date. Strangely, all chat logs on their messenger relating to these topics were also absent, only seeming to indicate discussions of less personal matters related to the wedding, such as catering. Grappling with the surreal nature of the situation, Daphne found some peace in the fact that her daughter Alex had experienced the same baffling shift. Without her corroboration, she might have convinced herself that the entire experience had been nothing more than her own vivid imagination. Mysterious shared realms. In late 2023, Eleanor experienced a series of bizarre encounters with altered versions of her surroundings, encounters that would forever change her perception of reality. It all began on a seemingly ordinary day in early November, as Eleanor worked remotely on her computer from her home office in Seattle. As Eleanor focused on her work, she suddenly noticed something peculiar about her computer monitor. It wasn't the same monitor she was accustomed to using. Perplexed, Eleanor became acutely aware that the reality she was experiencing was not her own. In an instant, she woke up in the same place, but this time her monitor had reverted to its familiar appearance. As she surveyed her surroundings, however, Eleanor realised that the room felt different, almost hollow, like an imitation, in a way that defied description. Once again, Eleanor found herself waking up, this time in her bed beside her husband Theo. At first glance, everything seemed to be as it should be, but upon closer inspection, Eleanor noticed that the curtains behind them were blue instead of their usual green. With a sinking feeling, Eleanor knew that she was on the brink of another shift. Turning to Theo, Eleanor uttered the words, "Reality is not real." To her surprise, Theo replied, "No, it isn't." As Eleanor felt the impending shift, she cried out to her husband, "Come with me." A guttural scream escaped her lips as the room transformed into a colourful sea of static, reminiscent of a noisy image from a thermal vision camera, with designated colours for each of its temperature ranges, vivid blues, greens, yellows and reds. In the blink of an eye, Eleanor found herself once more in bed, gazing at Theo. This time the curtains had returned to their familiar green colour. The next morning, Theo inquired about Eleanor's screaming during the night. As Eleanor recounted her experience, Theo suggested they listened to the recording captured by his sleep app. To their astonishment, there was no trace of Eleanor's scream. Instead, the app had recorded Theo shouting, "Door person, door person," at approximately the same time Eleanor had screamed in her dream. Theo then revealed his own dream, in which he found himself in a bedroom nearly identical to their own. In his dream, he had spotted a figure in the doorway and had frantically called out to Eleanor, warning her of the door person. He confessed that he hadn't felt fear in that moment, but rather an overwhelming sense of urgency. As they delved deeper into the mystery, Theo shared that he had been feeling an unexplainable urge to talk to Eleanor about something important in the days leading up to the incident. He had felt a powerful desire to exit or shift out of his current consciousness, and he had wanted to invite Eleanor to join him, despite not fully understanding what that entailed. It was crucial to note that Theo's intentions did not involve harming themselves or each other. Rather, he was grappling with a concept that defied his comprehension. Exactly 1 week later, Eleanor encountered a second experience that mirrored the first. Once again, she found herself waking up in 3 strikingly similar realities, each time convinced that the previous reality had been the true one until she awoke in the next. As Eleanor grappled with the implications of her experiences, a mind-bending theory began to take shape. Could it be that she had actually succeeded in pulling Theo into her own fabricated realm? The fact that Theo remembered the scream, despite his recording indicating it had happened entirely in her dream, suggested that the version of him present in this reality was the same one present in her dream. Perhaps his mysterious feelings in the days prior had been a premonition of the impending shift. Eleanor also considered another possibility. The static and screaming, could it have been a manifestation of the multiverse? Could she have slipped into some strange pocket dimension in which the forms and properties around were altered somehow, and taken her husband along for the ride?